Christmas in East Asia is so different. Recently I did a video on Christmas traditions in Latin America, largely focusing on the Caribbean, Dominican Republic, talking about what they do there. Because it's very different, but very similar in a lot of ways. And today I want to talk about what it's like in East Asia. So East Asia, because we've got different populations of Christians over the years, varying by location to location. So I'm going to start off with China, which is like the least, and then we're going to move on to Japan and South Korea afterwards. So China, two of the top 5 religions, I think, like the main official languages. They're like 5 official religions in China, 2 of which are Christian. So there's Protestantism and Catholicism, and they're not the most. They're not like the biggest. The biggest would be Chinese folk religion, by number of like followers, practitioners. But it is like Christianity is growing in China. And also, and I think this is kind of a stronger influence, is the fact that people have been learning English. And so because people have been learning English and they've been exposed to Western culture, even if they didn't learn English, via TV shows and film, thanks to the internet. So over the past 10, 15, 20 years, there's really been a distinct change in China. And so while it's not a public holiday in the country, and I wouldn't expect that to happen anytime soon, it is something that people will celebrate. But they celebrate it in a really different way than in the West. For one thing, as soon as December 25th comes, as soon as it passes, it basically very quickly is like it never happened. So like decorations disappear. And so in China, it's more of an aesthetic, fun, trendy kind of thing. And so you will see decorations in malls and shops. And people may put some decorations up in their where they work, or they may put some decorations at their home. But that's more going to be like a thing that younger people are going to do. And so basically like millennial age on down is where you might expect to see the majority of that aesthetic being expressed and enjoyed. And it's going to be concentrated more in bigger cities as well. Outside bigger cities, and the older that you get, like the less that you're going to see it popping up in China. And something that is interesting is that, so there is like this tradition that has begun of giving apples on Christmas Eve. And basically, Christmas Eve is called Ping An Ye. And Ping An kind of sounds similar to Pingguo. And so, round objects are already auspicious gifts in China. So because they kind of sound similar, so it just kind of became a thing where people may gift apples, because Ping An Ye means like peaceful night. Ping An means peace. Ye means night. So that's just kind of how things came together. But yeah, really more of a, like I said, an aesthetic and a fun, trendy thing to do for younger people. I mean Christmas just in general. So that's basically the majority of what there is for Christmas in China, in mainland China. We need to bring up some caveats. So if we're going to be looking at like Chinese, that's like China's whole. Like I said, it's going to be main cities, but then if because you got like special situations, right? So Hong Kong used to be part of it used to be like a British colony, right? And Macau used to be a Portuguese colony. So you get more Christians in both those places, and Christmas is also a public holiday there. Again, this is the British colonial influence, and basically you'll get some more. You'll get the decorations. You'll also get sales, and there may be like family meals. Uh, but like I said, it is a holiday. It is a public holiday. And interestingly enough about that, so December 25th is a public holiday. December 26th is also a public holiday. December 26th and December 25th. Both are public holidays. Now, December 26th, you may be asking, why is December 26th a public holiday? It's because it is what is known as Boxing Day. So Boxing Day is influenced the British here again. It's basically, back in the day, they used to give gifts in boxes to servants and to the poor. And so now that's not as really as big of an emphasis as it used to be, but it is a public holiday. And basically it's like Black Friday. So there'll be like a lot of sales. So that's the majority of what you have going on in Hong Kong. There's also like, you may have church services. Oh, and you know, there could be lights in addition to like the winter Christmas themed decorations. So, festive lights. Macau, on the other hand, because I said that they're Portuguese, right? They used to be a Portuguese colony. And basically, as a result, they'll also be very similar to Hong Kong. So, in the sense that, like I said, it's a public holiday, they'll have decorations, festive meals, church services. But because Macau is like a huge, it's like the Las Vegas of China, in a sense. So casinos and hotels will go all in on Christmas decorations, and so it's something that you may not have expected to come out of China if you don't know a lot about Macau, but it is something that they will do a really good job at the displays that they put. And I'm sure you can find this sort of thing online if you just go look for like Macau casino Christmas decorations type thing. As to Japan now, we're going to move away from China. In Japan, not a public holiday. Christmas is not a public holiday. Only a small percentage of people are Christian in Japan. And interestingly enough, oddly enough, Christmas is more about aesthetics, like in China, but it's also about romance. It's it's not so much an emphasis on family as it is on being together. Like it's kind of like Valentine's Day, and so people will go on dates. They will exchange gifts, and go check out lights, festive lights, and you may be surprised to find that Christmas dinner in Japan, since the 1970s, thanks to a marketing campaign, has been dominated by KFC. So people will go get KFC and they'll enjoy KFC, and they have like Christmas specials for Christmas dinner at KFC that for people to enjoy. And interestingly enough, I think really just mainly because of the presence of red in it, the classic Christmas dessert in Japan is strawberry shortcake. Again, I think it's just because of the bright red from the strawberry. But yeah, decorations and lights will appear everywhere. But very similar to China, they will come right down right after December 25th. Now, moving on to South Korea. South Korea, I left for last because South Korea is very much of a unique situation because they have like the strongest, we'll say, presence of Christianity in the country traditionally. So they've got like the strongest presence of it for the longest amount of time. And so because that Christmas is a public holiday, unlike in Japan, but it wasn't, because it wasn't a colony of the UK or Portugal, like with Hong Kong and Macau, where, okay, it makes a lot of sense that it might be a public holiday there. But in South Korea, it is also a public holiday. And families will attend church services, some will, because Christianity is just much more common. And then, oddly enough, like in Japan, for many young people, it's also a romantic holiday or like a friend-focused holiday, though. So not as much of a family-focused one, but you will find light displays in big cities like Seoul that you can enjoy, and then gift giving is also common. So, but it's usually like a smaller scale than in Western countries. So that's about it for East Asia. East Asia, kind of like to recap: lights, shopping, atmosphere via decoration, and then it tends to be less about religion, more about relationships, which could be couples or friends. And it's a short-lived season with things typically coming down very quickly right after the 25th, which kind of makes sense because despite the fact that in East Asia there's Chinese New Year traditionally, New Year in the Western sense that on December 31st, January 1st, has become a lot more important over the years. So we'll save that for another video, though. Until next time, have y'all seen any interesting photos or come across any interesting traditions that they enjoy in East Asia or that you enjoy in East Asia? Let me know in the comments. Till next time, y'all take care. Keep learning. Keep enjoying that journey. Bye-bye.